Welcome to my warehouse where I'm going to show you a really cool bucket system that I am excited about. I hope if you have a warehouse, this helps you, or if you work here, helps you understand what a beautiful system looks like. Now, let me show you what we currently have for bolts, which are heavy. So they go on the ground. So underneath all of our shelves here, our store, we have these blue tubs, and some are this big and some are this big. And when you run out of room, what do? Because ideally you want everything in one place inside the same warehouse. Now we have a storage unit now, and that allows us to put something in a different place, but that's much easier to keep track of, and you only do that in larger quantities. But what we used to have are these 2-gallon buckets, which is the perfect size to lift heavy metal. However, we would call them overstock buckets, and they were sprawled all over the place. It was really hard to find and distinguish which set of buckets were different than another set of buckets. And so now we have a beautiful system, and I'm going to show you what I have set up and how I put in the playbook, which is our SOP. So this can continue. So this could be maintainable. That's the key to a good system. So with one stack of buckets, with the top bucket with no lid, allows you to pick the items with no inconvenience. And I know that these are all the same. And if they're not all the same, that also has 5 buckets. This one only has 2 high, but all 5 buckets exist here. And the top one is how I pick. That one has another bucket full of stuff. And you might only have 1 bucket filling up this whole thing, leaving 4 empty, and that's okay. It's such a clean system. Every bucket has a label on the front, and the top one, you just keep moving that guy around. You know, that took 2 days to figure out, and it seems so easy to explain, but that's how you know it's a good system, is that I can explain it in 60 seconds. Now, you don't want 2 items that are similar looking next to each other. For example, we have these glue-ins and we have these hangers. And over here, we have hangers and hangers. And the only reason we can get away with that is because these are so weird looking, you wouldn't mix them up. Same with this, glue-in with rings and a hanger. Now, I would hesitate to put a glue-in with 1 ring in here, because if I came over to that SKU location and I was like, oh, I need a glue-in with a ring, and either way you're supposed to scan it, but that's an independent secondary way to make sure you pick the right thing. It should be obvious what you're picking. This comes back down to the chaos storage theory, where I am not going to have any other, obviously, rescue kits in here, but I'm not going to have any other quick links in this box. So if I'm looking for a quick link and I'm going like this and I feel a quick link, it's going to be that quick link. You want to make sure you have that with the buckets too, and that allows us to put 2 different things in each little corner that we find spots for that were not otherwise being used effectively. So buckets are universal. We have a stack here in the back and we have a stack in the front, and we don't put anything on top of them because they get changed throughout, because stacking the buckets is a great way to keep them all together. Now, if we ran out of these, or let's say we stopped carrying this many, that is more likely gonna be the case, and we put them in we downgrade them to a blue tub, then I would have an empty stack of buckets here, which is what this is. And it's a blank slate. You can put anything you want in here. And we've got more bolts coming, so this is nice to have a blank spot to put stuff. Same with those. Now, in front of the actual SKU, we have a tilde separating our location and our SKU, and we have another video about that. What I added to this specifically is a -BKT for bucket. So I can type in -BKT and all the buckets will pop up, and I can see what bolts I have in those and what bolts I might want to take over to the storage. Because once you get above 5 high, it goes to the storage unit. And doesn't matter if there's only 1 extra bucket, 5 high. And it's nice to have a hard boundary on what goes there and what doesn't. And how we keep that at the storage is another problem to be solved. The last thing before I show you the playbook is that we have 1 bucket type. So we had like 5 to 10 buckets that didn't fit inside of these, and the lids were slightly different. You know how empty 5-gallon buckets or 2-gallon buckets might not all be compatible. Since there was only like 5 or 10 of them, I'm getting them out of here. I'm gonna just take them home or something. I don't want a mix of lids and a mix of buckets. You want it universal. If you're going to have something, you don't want anybody to have to think that hard if that lid goes with that bucket. So that's a straightforward, simple system for a one spot location for a ton of bolts. If you make a great system and you don't write it down, it doesn't matter. Doesn't help anybody. It's not scalable. It's not something you can copy and paste as your company grows. And the next person's going to forget it. So writing everything down is very important, but you also need it to not suck. It has to be readable. It has to be simple. Most SOPs suck. So let me show you how I wrote this down. So in the packing part of the playbook, we have here the bucket of bolts, and this is going to link up to the video I am currently filming. You want to understand why you do the thing and the problem you're actually trying to solve, so people understand context, so they're not trying to fix something out of context. Goal: one location per item within the store. And the problem is bolts sometimes don't fit in one location that we have now, which is the blue tubs. The solution is what I showed you. Put them in 2-gallon buckets stacked 5 high, leaving the top lid off for easy picking. If that's all you read, you'd pretty much understand what's going on. You don't want this to be hard to read or convoluted, but you want to emphasize certain parts. Not more than 5 buckets high. It's really nice to have a boundary there. Otherwise, it goes into storage. The 5 buckets always live in that spot. Just stack them inside of each other if they're empty. That way, we don't have miscellaneous piles of buckets. Barcodes on blue tape. Otherwise, the glue from the barcode gets stuck on anything you put it on, and it goes on the front of each bucket right under the handle, even if you don't fill up all 5. So it can be seen if stacked and inside the top bucket to be moved as we empty it. So even that technically might not have to happen if it's on the front of all the buckets, and when they're stacked together, you can still see the barcode. So we can simplify that down in the future. Lids. Nothing goes on lids. Keep them universal. We have a lid pile in the back and the front of the store. Do not put 2 very similar looking things next to each other. That's typical for any chaos storage that we have, but it's nice to reemphasize that very specific thing since we have 2 types of bolts right next to each other at all times. And how we record it is SKU. You have location dash BKT, squiggly line, tilde, SKU. You add the BKT so we can filter it out, and that is explained here. FYI, we have 1 bucket type where lids are compatible with all of them. If we buy more buckets, make sure they're compatible. I went through a lot of work to pull out the ones that were not compatible. You don't want somebody to get the bucket zoomies and buy 100 more and say, I made more SKU locations, which would be nice, but it would kind of suck if now we have to have 2 different type of lid systems. So we got to be very careful when we buy another set of buckets. Seems kind of silly to get this excited about buckets, but I get excited about systems. Because if you do the extrapolation station, if you did this for every constraint you had in your business, whether it's a people constraint, money constraint, space constraint, your business will grow. Your customer service will be better. Life gets better when you've got systems. So create systems for your business, or if you work here, please create systems. And we'll see you in the next BTS video. Cheers.